Hi, and welcome to Schmooze with Suze. Got an interesting one here. You know, I'm a big fan of nonprofits, specifically when it's either children or seniors. In between, you're on your own as far as I'm concerned, because you can find your own resources. But I think we need to really protect and take care of those vulnerable populations, the ones that really need a little bit of more hand-holding. I've got Mary Kerrigan with me, and she is from Step Up Ventura. How did you guys get started, and where did it start?
We started about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
There was a task force that formed because the program at Project Understanding, which is a wonderful program to help homeless families, and it's the adults that they help to, get services. There was an intern there that said there wasn't any program for the children, for the very young children. And the young children spent most of their days going from one line to another line, one agency to another agency with their parents. Oh. And it also made it impossible for parents, homeless parents, to be able to work full-time or to go to school full-time or increase their job skills because childcare and preschool is unaffordable. So it looked like even though there are many services for homeless people in Ventura, there's this gap of a lack of service.
Huge for kids. There's nothing for kids. You really don't think about that much.
Yes.
There's a lot of programs and there are a lot of services and resources for adults, but there's nothing for kids.
Exactly.
The kids get lost.
Exactly.
So they become statistics.
Yes.
And they just drop off the radar?
Yes, and so we formed a task force and decided after a period of time of really looking at the problem, 6,000 children ages 0 to 5 in Ventura County and 600 just right here in Ventura City itself.
How do you do an accurate count?
They have homeless counts, and there's also counting that goes through the school system, and there's ways that they do that, and I'm not quite sure all of that.
So this grew out of Project Understanding.
It came from an intern that was working at Project Understanding saying, I'm working with the parents, but there's nothing here for the children.
So somebody actually just stepped up and said, hey, let's put together a group of people that are interested, and your background is?
I was a child and family psychotherapist for 30 years.
Wow.
So my background is mental health. Judy Alexandra was the person who pulled the task force together, and
only she could.
and she's worked in this community for, again,
she's an icon.
many years, really addressing the needs of disadvantaged families and homeless families. And out of that task force, we formed a 501c3 organization, agency, nonprofit. And we've been working on our mission, which is providing childcare and preschool for homeless children ages 0 to 5, and to really strengthen and enhance the parent-child relationship by having a place where parents can come and have a meal with their child before they go off to work or school or
So you have an actual dedicated space?
We don't have a dedicated space now.
You need one?
We need one.
They need one?
We need one.
Okay.
We thought we had one, but it really wasn't right for state licensing, and we are dedicated to meeting state licensing requirements. So
what specifically do you need? So people at home know that maybe somebody that's watching or listening that can actually say, hey, I've got just a space, I've got this building that I own?
Right. We need a space at least for 2 classrooms, because we need a 0 to 2-year-old space, and we need then 2 to 5-year-old space. And we need an office space, an administrative space. One of the things that's very challenging with state licensing is that we also need outdoor space.
Oh.
We need 75 square feet per child of
That's
outdoor
a lot
space.
Of space.
It's a lot of outdoor space, especially because we would like, if possible, to at least have our first site be located downtown to midtown, where there are a lot of homeless families.
And services are probably more centrally located.
Exactly.
That's challenging.
It is challenging, but we do want to keep each site fairly small. We don't want to get larger than 60 children, and we would like to be able to start a program of about 15 to 20 children. And so we're looking for a space to be able to start our program. And our goal is to have several sites throughout Ventura County because we know transportation is so difficult for homeless families, and we want to have the sites be as much in the neighborhood where the homeless families are living, so transportation is not such a challenge.
Would you be able to maybe even partner with another agency?
We would be delighted to partner with another agency, and we've explored that. Nothing really has come through yet in that area, but we definitely would consider that. We are dedicated to having a nurturing, welcoming environment, but because our program is geared to be a therapeutic program, it can't be just a typical, regular, very, very busy, active preschool setting. It needs to have some things in the environment that are more therapeutic. And what I mean by that is that homeless children, by the time they get to kindergarten, are usually about 10,000 words behind their peers, their classmates.
Really, that much of a deficiency?
Yes, and it means that they don't understand directions sometimes. They don't understand conversations with their peers. Sometimes they are very confused and frustrated because they don't understand. And they can't communicate. They can't make their needs or their feelings or their thoughts clear to others. So they lag behind, and they end up feeling embarrassed and end up feeling not like everyone else.
Do they
different.
isolate?
And so there's two things that they often do. They will isolate, they'll hide under tables, they'll run out of the classroom, or they get angry and they fight back. They strike out. The expulsion rate for homeless children in preschool is higher than the expulsion rate for high school students.
No kidding.
Yeah, and it's because, you know, any of us, if we're in an environment where we feel like we're being laughed at or misunderstood or not helped, why would we want to be there?
You lash out because you're insecure.
Exactly. So one of our big goals is to build trust, to really create connection, to really help these children make good connections with the adults and make good connections with their peers. We know that children who start kindergarten happy and successful and enjoy their kindergarten experience, and on grade level at kindergarten, they are much more likely to finish and complete school and get an education that makes it possible for them to support themselves as adults. So we really look at our mission as providing this service now, but also stopping the cycle of homelessness. You know, stopping that cycle of going to school, disliking it, getting in trouble, dropping out of school, and not really being prepared for the adult world. We really look at early childhood education as an essential part.
I would think so. I mean, that's on so many levels, just not only for intellectual growth, but emotional growth.
Yes.
Without that, I mean, if you don't have both of them, then you're totally deficient, and you will have those characteristics that you just mentioned.
Yes, and they don't know how to make connections.
They don't socialize, do they?
Exactly, exactly. So, you know, that connection, you know, we all need strong, healthy, caring, encouraging, enriching, thriving connections, and that's one of our main goals. Another main goal is really resolving the trauma that some of these children have had. You know, the difficulties, you know, how would we feel if we didn't know where we were going to sleep every night?
Oh my God, the
fear. Yes, how would we feel if we didn't know who was going to be taking care of us the next day?
Fear.
Exactly. And how would we feel if we didn't know when our next meal was going to be?
Again, abandonment fear.
Yes.
I mean, you're dealing with a whole lot of negatives, especially to somebody that, I mean, a small child this will affect them the rest of their lives.
Exactly. And when you're young, you can't understand it.
Well, you don't have any skills to cope.
Exactly.
So you're constantly confused.
Yeah, and so you're what we call constantly scared.
Sure.
And anxious.
Absolutely.
And worried.
Yep. All
and
of that.
So it makes our brains, when we're like that, we don't think very well. You know, we can't really learn when we're worried.
How can you be successful, you know, I mean, because this is when you're imprinting.
Yes.
This is the early childhood years. When does most of that take place? Up to about age, what, 4, 5?
Yes, yes. In fact, the brain grows faster between age 0 to 3 than any other time.
And so if you're imprinting all this negativity and all this fear,
that's the way you live. That's the way you see
the rest of your
world.
life.
Yeah.
I mean, you're pretty much colored by that time.
Exactly. It really influences how we see the world and how we see ourselves in the world.
So it's essential that we do something at that stage. How do you convince the people, the decision makers, say your elected officials, how do you convince even your neighborhood populations with that? How do you get out there and get the word out, other like the venue like this? I mean, do you make presentations?
I make a lot of presentations.
I bet you do.
Going to different groups, charity groups, making presentations in schools, making presentations in government agencies. You know, the research is there. The research says that early childhood education is the best and most essential investment in a person's life, and that it helps the community as well. Every dollar spent on early child education saves our community $7 to $11 in the future. It's prevention. And so the research is there, but you know, really, we can know it up here and not do anything about it. We have to really know it from our heart that these are children and families that need help.
That is the hardest part of all, to be able to educate the general public so that they can participate on some level.
Exactly.
So you've got a board, a large board?
We have about 10 people on the board now.
That's all you want?
We have a hard working board. We have a very committed, very dedicated people, in many walks of life in terms of professional background.
How old is the organization? How long have you been around?
We incorporated in December of 2014, and we had been meeting all that summer up until December. And so we've been around for about a year and a half in terms of really raising money and raising awareness. And you know, you have to raise awareness first before you can raise.
Well, you have to educate the population.
Yes, yes.
So so for example, like raising money, you do a private fundraisers. Do you get any funding from the county or the state at all? Do you apply for grants?
We are applying for some grants. It is difficult, though, when you're a startup. It's much easier once you have a program
once you're established
to get a grant. And in terms of government money, unfortunately, the money for early childhood education is being cut because it's it's contingent upon the tobacco tax, which has been that funding has been going down over the years. So right now we will be able to get some help from the government in terms of food. We want to be able to give 2 full meals and snacks every day, 5 days a week. We want to be open from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening. So we will be getting some help. It's a long day, but so we will be getting some help in terms of food, food share, you know, those kinds of organizations.
They're kicking in, okay.
And we are really wanting help from volunteers that want to come in and work one-on-one with children. I talked about trauma. You know, one of our goals is to resolve that fear. You know, get children so they are happy and excited and open for learning and not fearful. And so that takes a lot of one-on-one time and attention. So we're going to want volunteers to be able to come and help with that, as well as our educational staff.
Do you get any resistance from parents? I mean, I would imagine you'd have a very small resistance to parents, but maybe that don't quite understand what your mission really is. Do you have to educate parents as well?
I think so. Some
to some degree.
Yeah, to some degree. But a lot of parents, you know, see that their child needs a safe nurturing place to be.
So they
They
open.
see that their child isn't happy being, strolled from agency to agency or have no play space. And so I think that we want a place that's welcoming for both parents and siblings of the children, a place that's safe and nurturing and really support those relationships as well, the parent-child relationship of just being able to play with your child. And
this is heart-rending. I mean, it breaks your heart because, I mean, these are children that they depend on us for their care and their well-being.
Yes.
And when they can't get their basic needs met like this.
Yes, and that's exactly right. The basic needs are the way for children to feel cared about and also feel lovable and to feel capable. And we really want these children to thrive. We want them to be ready for kindergarten. We want to help them resolve the trauma and help parents, know how to work with those issues with their children so they can be supportive for a lifetime.
I keep thinking there's got to be some partner agency that I'm not thinking of that's out there, or somebody out there that understands the plight and understands your mission and would partner.
And there are agencies that understand our mission that work with the homeless. But this is
unique.
This is an expensive program.
Sure it
in
is,
this sense.
because it's so time-consuming.
It is. It's time-consuming.
And there's so many components that really need that funding, that mechanism to make it work.
Yes, yes.
And there's so many components.
Yes, yeah. There are a lot of pieces to put together. So, it's a big mission. But I believe this community has a big enough heart.
I do too.
To meet that.
I do. It's a very compassionate community that really takes care of their own. Yeah. I think by getting more and more information out there and getting more awareness in a larger community, by going to community councils, by going to groups like service clubs, organizations where you can give your presentations.
Yes, and I'm available and willing to do that for any club, any service organization.
I'll have you come to speak.
Any group of educators or people who are involved in education, either on after kindergarten or pre-kindergarten. We really want to get the word out that we are happy to partner with people, and we're happy to have people support us. In terms of money donations or in terms of any kind of space that's available.
Your board obviously does a lot of strategic planning. So you do long-term goals and what your needs are, and short-term goals, which is what you're dealing with today.
Right.
So, but you need space.
Space.
I mean, without a real dedicated space, it's kind of difficult to actually organize this. Once that happens, then you could get self-sustaining funding, I would imagine, because then that opens the door to some real dedicated funding at a larger level.
Yes.
Just knowing the way nonprofits work. I've dealt with nonprofits for over 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm oriented at nonprofit. It's just what I'm interested in doing because I really see the positive good it does. There's so many agencies that I would love to really explore with you that maybe would be really interested in partnering. Have you ever approached like Ventura County Community Foundation or any of those people?
Yes, we've done some of that, and some of it is that training, there's available training. I think space and facilities is much difficult in regards to funding.
Churches.
And that's the other thing, Suze, it's interesting. There is a shortage of preschools and childcare in this community. So every church already has a preschool. Or
really?
It's really, really difficult. There's so many preschools that are already, occupying churches.
Are they capacity?
And the preschools are at capacity. We had hoped maybe to find a preschool that had a couple of extra, a couple of classrooms available that
That's what I was thinking. I shared when they're not using.
Yes, and I've made phone calls. I haven't found one yet, but if anyone knows,
well, you're dogged. You're going to find one.
If anyone knows a preschool that has some extra space, but there actually is a shortage for this.
I wasn't aware.
For preschools. Well, most families are two-parent working families now. And so
well,
they,
that's even critical right there.
Yes.
One loses a job, and they could be that family that's going to need the services.
Exactly.
I mean, everybody could, potentially be homeless next week.
Yes.
I mean, it's not some far off idea.
Yes.
It's the reality of the situation,
reality.
Especially the way the economy is.
Yeah. So
we got to find you some help.
Yes. So we would love to talk to anyone who has an idea about a potential space.
Okay, guys.
Facility.
Here's your mission. There you choose to accept it. Go, somebody out there is watching. Somebody out there has resources that they can help step up. I mean, space, funding, opportunities to have Mary present to your service organization or your club. Somebody adopt these guys, will you? I mean, this is really, the need is huge, and it just breaks my heart to think that, this is a life. This is a little life that, it could forever change the way our direction of this life. I mean, when you think about it in dollars and cents, even when it comes to a financial thing, the collateral damage of what can it do to a population.
Much more expensive.
Yeah, remediation is always, prevention's cheaper than remediation any day of the week.
Yes.
And that's what I keep thinking. That's got to, I keep going, it's
And,
gotta be
one
somewhere.
thing that you said, this is a little life, sometimes people don't realize how much is happening with the baby. By the time a child gets to be 3 or 4, we kind of see some of the behaviors that, we wonder, why are they doing that? Don't they know better? But it all starts with the baby that, needs to be held and gazed at and talked to and played with and really responded to. And sometimes, homeless families parents are tired, they're overworked, they're exhausted. It's not that they don't love their children, they're struggling just to survive. And so we really want this nurturing environment to include that 0 to 2 population where babies need rocking and they need talking to, and they really need a lot of what we call face time, gazing time, where they can learn to see what those expressions of love and caring, look like, and to trust it, to learn to trust adults are going to care about them and help them and, make life possible, to be safe and fun and successful. So,
you guys got to do something out there. I mean, this is critical need. This isn't next week. This isn't next year. This is like right now.
Yes, because every day that these children
go
without the kind of support they need makes them that much farther behind when they get to kindergarten. And that's what the name of our organization is, Step Up Ventura, because we really want children to be ready to step up to kindergarten and be successful. We want them to be just as successful as their peers. We want them to know that they have the confidence and the knowledge, the social knowledge as well as the academic knowledge, to keep up and to be included and to be part of what makes a successful life. So.
Well, I'm just very emotional about this because it just breaks my heart. I mean, it's just the critical need of just this little life, and what the collateral damage is to this person. It forever will change them. I mean, it's not just a homeless family, but it's a community that has to own this. And it is a community need. And I mean, we don't take care of our seniors as well as we should either, frankly, because I work with their special population as well. And again, more vulnerable needs. And there's so much out there, but the need is great. And there's got to be, I keep thinking there's got to be an organization out there, Mary. There's got to be some space out there that somebody's willing to do that. I mean, I know there's a lot of commercial space out there as well that's vacant.
There's commercial space, and that outdoor requirement sometimes makes it difficult, makes it a unique demand. But that's got to be there. And I believe it is there. And I have to say, we did have one church that offered space, but it was located so far away from
downtown core?
Downtown, and it just, that's the other thing we have to think about is transportation and how families are going to get to us. And so we really need
Again,
it to
partnering.
we really need it to be convenient.
I keep thinking it's got to be partnering. Partnering is, I think, is the key here, because not one resource agency will have everything you need.
Yes.
And it's got to be a partnership or a collaboration of something like this. Working with, I don't know if it would be a school district, I don't know if it'd be a church or another synergistic nonprofit that actually does provide services for, a like type of environment. But you got to find it.
You know, and one thing that has happened in some communities is in retirement homes.
Yes, the two
they
populations.
Have, the two populations.
I keep thinking
need,
that too.
You know, so much the same thing. They need attention and they need caring.
Correct.
And they need interaction.
What a great role model. They do it in Europe. Why can't we do it here?
I know. So that's another thing that is a possibility, but it hasn't come through yet. So
I'm going to think on that one because I work in that environment.
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah,
they've
so
got
you know.
recreational space because
Right.
I work in a nursing home, skilled nursing facilities in SNFs. I'll think about this. I'm not giving up on you, believe me. Thanks for coming on. I implore you, I mean, I don't usually get this emotional on camera, but I implore all of you that are watching this tonight, please, please, please find it somewhere in your heart. I mean, at the very least you can do is donate to Step Up, 501c3, and it'll be on your screen so you'll know where to go and how to get a hold of Mary. Have her speak to one of your service organizations. You all have churches. There's resources out there that I'm not even thinking of right now, but I'm sure that somebody out there is watching this show and somebody else that can help you. Please, I beg you to help. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
What
Thank
a
you
great
so much
opportunity
for
to meet
having
you
me.
and know you better.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your big heart.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Join us again next week. We'll be back.